Hi and welcome to this edition of the Bare Basics, where we're looking at using our unit circle to plot a periodic function, that is the sine curve or the cosine curve. So let's begin by quickly reviewing what our unit circle is. Okay, so here is an image of a unit circle. Remember, we've got a circle with a radius of 1, which is overlaid on a Cartesian plane. That means that starting at our 0 degrees point, the coordinates of our Cartesian plane will be 1, 0. They will then go up to the 90 degree point where it's 0, 1, across to the 180 degrees, which is negative 1, 0, down to 270 degrees, which is 0, negative 1, and then back up to 360, which is the same point as our 0 degrees, and we're back to 1, 0. Remember, we can get our sine value anywhere along any angle along the circumference of the circle by taking the vertical height of the coordinate of that point at the time. And our cosine value, or our cos value, is taken by reading the horizontal value, or along the x-axis. And we'll confirm that in just a moment when we look at our unit circle in relation to the cosine curve. Okay, so we have two curves, the sine curve and the cosine curve. And we're going to begin by looking at the cosine curve first. So let's get our unit circle up again. Okay, so here is our unit circle again. And remember, we have discussed that at any point we can take our find the cosine of an angle by looking at our horizontal reading. So let's say 30 degrees, for example. So we've got 15, 30. So I bring my marker over to here. So there we go, I'm at 30 degrees. And here is my right angled triangle, and I want to take my reading for my cosine by looking at the length along the x-axis. So I drop this down, and it means that my length along the x-axis for 30 degrees is around 0.85. Now, what I've done here is I have done up a grid. So it's just a normal printable grid paper. There's nothing special about it. And I have my vertical axis goes from 0 to 1 and then down to negative 1, because that's what we have when we've got our values of cosine go between negative 1 and 1. And along the x-axis, you can see that very faintly that I've marked, each line equates to one of the sectors around our unit circle. So I've got 15, 30, 45, 60. Just as here, I have 15, 30, 45, 60, and so on. So the first thing that we're going to do for cosine is remember, all of these, we're looking at our x-axis and the reading along our x-axis. So when we have 1, or our angle is 0 degrees, our cosine value is 1, which means that on my graph here where I've got 0, my cosine angle is 1. Then when I go up to 15 degrees and I drop that down, I'm at around 0.95. So I'm going to mark at 15.95. When I go up to 30 degrees and I drop that down, I'm at about 0.85. So for 30, I'm going up to 0.85. When I go up to 45 degrees and I drop that down, I'm at 0.7. So I'm now going to note that as 0.7. And it would be really boring for you if you saw me do all of this. So I'm just going to show you a couple of negatives. Then I'm going to stop the video, finalize the graph and show you again. But let me just show you over this side, for example. When I'm at 90 degrees I don't move left or right, so my value for cosine, I'm actually on 0. So when I get to 90, so if I find my 90 here, I know I've got to be down to 0. Then if I go on to my angle is 105 degrees, I can drop that down, get my band out of the way. So we drop this down and I'm at around negative 0.25. So for 105, I'm going to about negative 0.25. And then when I go on to 120, I'm at negative 0.5. I'll pause the video there just for a moment while I now complete my curve, and I'll show you what the cosine curve looks like when I start the video again. Okay, I'm back again and I've plotted all my points. So the thing about the curve, the cosine curve, is that our curve, our circle, is a continuous line. Therefore, our cosine curve is also a continuous curve, not discrete, as we've got here. So I can actually just carefully freehand sketch between my points. And it does get a bit challenging because it is a curve. So we have to be I find it's best just to do little dashes between them. So not trying to do it all at once, but just little dashes, and we can get quite a smooth curve to join our points. And there we go, and then back down. Okay, so this is our cosine curve. So you can see that our cosine curve starts at 1 and then it comes down so that at 90 degrees our cosine is 0. It goes through, so at 180 degrees our cosine is negative 1. And then it comes back up 270 degrees, our cosine again is 0, and then back up to 0 degrees or 360 degrees, our cosine value is again 1. This is called, and then it starts again, I should say. This is called a periodic function because it has a period and then it keeps going again. So if we take any one point on our curve and go to the same point on our curve, this is what we call one period. And so we can see here that it's 360 degrees. Now, this is our cosine curve. We need to also have a look at our sine curve. Okay, what I have here is our sine curve, and it looks very much like the cosine curve. So if I slip this down, you can see that it is the same shape. The difference is if I move it along, we have what we call a shift. So where the sine curve starts here at 0, because for 0 degrees we have no height to our sine curve. So our sine curve starts at 0 and then goes up to 1 at 90 degrees. Our cosine curve at 0 degrees starts at 1 and goes down. So that is the key difference, and it would really, really do you well to actually go through and use your unit circle, plot it yourself, because if you ever forget which one is which, using your unit circle will help you straight away, just to remember that. And I have another little video that is how you use this unit circle in an exam when you don't have access to one that you've created that has all the measurements on and so on. Okay, so that has been the bare basics lesson on plotting a periodic function. So sine curves and cosine curves are both called periodic because they are cyclic, and over a period they will go over that length of that pattern and that will repeat. If you have any questions, just ask me in class or shoot me an email. Remember, the aim of the bare basics lessons is to make maths more bearable for you.